workshop style. So let me know how you're doing today on this wonderful Sunday morning. Maybe it's really early, maybe it's just right for you. So how we doing? Let me know in the chat. We're going to go ahead and get ourselves started here at 10:05. So you have some time to get yourself settled in. Make sure you have some water. Just make sure you're paying attention because we're going to go over a couple different things called the breathe, the lengthening. We're going to actually just show you how to use your breath, right? And a lot of times before we even get into it is when we go ahead to use our breath, people don't realize that your breath actually controls your flexibility, not your muscles. So I'm going to show you how to actually utilize that and utilize that to your advantage. So let me know how you're doing. I'm going to turn around. I try to get this, I try to get us going on Facebook, but for some reason it just does not ever really like, it doesn't like Facebook. It just does not like whenever I stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Somebody's always getting essentially shunned. So let me make sure, can you hear me? Everybody's good. Let me get you over here. Perfect. So we're going to get ourselves started at 10:05. So you got 2 minutes to get yourself acclimated. And one of the things, and this is a really good class, especially if you're a beginner, especially if maybe if you're or somebody who is very experienced or somewhat experienced. Show you how to actually use your breath and use it to your advantage. So let me know if you're excited. Drop a fire in the chat, drop a heart in the chat, and we're going to go ahead and get ourselves started. So with this type of class, make sure you are sitting in a cross-legged pose with your left leg over your right. And essentially what we want to get into is learning how to utilize the breath, right? So a lot of times when we're going through yoga or maybe when we're doing some of these Pilates classes, we might hold our breath, we might just breathe out the mouth, or maybe you hold your breath into your nose and then you're just like, I don't know, and then your heart rate starts going. So I want to show you how we can actually start to be more mindful to the breath and to the movements. Now, last week we talked about vinyasa yoga, right? Matching the breath to the movement. And so I want us to kind of just get into that right now, matching the breath to the movement, but I want to match the mind to the breath first. So let's go ahead, close our eyes, bring your hands right here to the top of your knees, and I want you to roll your shoulder back. I want you to lift your chest up, and I want you to take a deep inhale through your nose. And I want you just to observe the breath as it goes through the lungs, how your body starts to, it actually rises up. And then when you exhale out the mouth, you might feel how your body kind of, I always say, gets into that shrimp mode, right? Where your rounded shoulders. But when you inhale, you get this length that you might have heard me say many times before. And then you exhale, you kind of deflate and round. So the challenge I want you now is to bring your fingertips to the side and try to keep yourself upright this whole time. So inhale through the nose. Feel that length, keep that length, hold that length, and I want you to exhale out through the mouth. And I want you to feel how that, just by doing that little bit of awareness, you might actually feel that a little bit more in your core. Now let's do that again. Inhale through the nose, keep yourself nice and tall. Hold that length, keep your spine nice and tall, and then exhale out through the mouth. Now, if this seems difficult, or maybe you feel your core, or maybe you feel your lungs, right? This is a mind-body thing. So now let's switch the legs, and I want us to try this 2 more times. So if you don't feel this in your core, we need to bring some awareness to your diaphragm and use your diaphragm for the breath. So I want you to inhale, roll your shoulders back, lift the chest, get some length all the way through, almost like somebody's pulling you all the way up, like a, I don't want to say pulling you by your hair, but then exhale, keep that length. And feel the emptiness of that breath. Now we're starting to bring some more awareness to the breath, to the mind. One more inhale, but this time I want you to bring your hands all the way up overhead. Hold that length, and then exhale, your arms come down, but keep yourself nice and tall, open up your eyes. And And I want you to inhale, crawl your hands all the way out to the left-hand side for our seated side bend. But from here, I want you to think, right? Don't just kind of collapse right into it. I want you to inhale, scoop yourself where you're getting the length using your breath without collapsing here in your ribs and in your side hips. So when you try this, I want you to inhale, scoop, feel the stretch coming out from your QL, from your obliques, without sitting here dipping in. So we're going to explore this here for about 30 seconds going to each side. So I want you to go through each side as I'm talking through it. So we're going to inhale, reach all the way up. And then I want you to exhale, bring your hand down. Slow it down. Inhale, scoop your left hand. And then I want you to really think, exhale, bring it all the way back down. And just going from side to side, maybe you have to walk your hand out a little bit to feel a decent stretch. Maybe you only have to go out a little bit. Now, a lot of times when you're looking in this particular pose, from how I was taught, was really keeping yourself nice and tall upright and just bending slightly. Sometimes you can see me going all the way out, right? Some people do this, you know. But really, I want you to think, now that you got this movement, see how far you can go without your butt coming off the ground, right? So if I'm reaching over to my left-hand side or my right-hand side with my left arm, I don't want my left butt coming up off the ground, right? And vice versa. If I'm going to the right side or with my right arm to the left side, I don't want my right butt coming up off the ground. So let's go ahead, do one more to each side where you inhale and then exhale. Inhale, reach, and then exhale, come all the way back. Switch the cross of your legs, and we're going to stay in this cross-legged pose. Now, maybe some of you guys are like, oh my gosh, Nick, my legs, my hips. This is the awareness. So now I want you to stay inhale where you lift your arms all the way up. I want you to exhale, rotate now. Now, when you rotate, a lot of times when we rotate, when you use your breath, it's all out of the shoulders. I don't want you thinking it's out of the hips. It's inhale, exhale. You want to bring that shoulder back. It's not about twisting here. Think about shoulders first and then the twist. Don't think twist middle, go all the way up. So you go to the side, exhale back to center. Inhale, get length. And you really want to feel that stretch using your breath, and then bring your arms all the way back down. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, reach, hands all the way up, reaching through your fingertips. Get yourself nice and tall, and then exhale. Deep inhale, come back to center. Inhale, get length. Exhale, rotate. Feel that stretch out of the shoulder first. Come back to center. Hands come down. And let's go all the way on all fours. So when we go on all fours, a lot of times you see when we start most of your classes, if you ever go into like a traditional yoga class or maybe some of these yoga classes, 9 times out of 10 you're going to do a cat-cow. So when we do a cat-cow, what I want you to think of is when you first get in this position, right? A lot of times you might have your knees, let me just kind of show you, is that you might have your knees too close, maybe your knees are too far out. I want you to think knees hip distance apart, right? Have your hands kind of in a gripping motion where you're gripping the mat rather than pushing through with the palms of your hands. So when you're here in this cat-cow, find that position first. Grip the mat. And if you're like, Nick, my damn wrist. Well, I know, right? And that's why they got these things. I always talk about this. This is always a good, if you're somebody who does struggle with wrist pain, you could just have your wrist elevated here and get into your cat-cows. But essentially, once you find your pose, make sure that your wrist, your shoulder, and your elbow are all in one line. And the reason we'd like to do that is that you're not pushing through into your wrist joint. See, when you have your wrist in this alignment, you're allowed to keep yourself in a safe position. So now that we're here, that is your cat-cow position. I want you to inhale. You reach all the way up with your eyes. And what you want to do is feel this arch. But when you get all the way up to the top, I want you to exhale. You tuck your butt under. So the main thing is that you tuck your butt under and you try to bring your chin to your chest. So when you're here, you exhale. Allow the breath to slowly last you the whole way down until you get into this rounded cat pose. Once you can't go anymore, you inhale. And a lot of this starts, if not all of it, out of your hip hinge. So if you find that this is difficult, maybe you have to just work with spilling the soup and turning the soup under, right? Is that you spill it forward, you spill it back. Now this is all core control, this is all glute control. You could start here. If you saw my squat video about the hip hinge, this is exactly what we're talking about here. So let's go ahead and just do 5 rounds of this cat-cow where we inhale, look all the way up. Exhale, round, tuck the butt under, chin and chest, squeeze the butt. Inhale, look all the way up, finding the stretch. Exhale, round, tucking the butt. And the main thing is that you're using the breath, right? The breath is your guide for how far, when you start, when you end. I only do this part of the cow until I can't breathe anymore and I look all the way up. And then, especially when I get to the exhale, when I tuck my butt under, I know that this should be the end of my cat. So let's do one more where you inhale, hinging out of the hips. Exhale, rounding, squeezing the butt. And then let's go ahead, bring your big toes together, your knees as wide as the mat. And I want you to walk your hands all the way out to 12 o'clock for your child's pose. Now, being that this is a rest pose in yoga, a lot of times when we do any poses that maybe you aren't comfortable with or maybe you just aren't familiar with, and stay in your child's pose, we're going to do 3 more deep breaths, is that you can always resort into this position, right? Is that if you're ever doing something that's challenging, maybe it hurts or maybe it just feels a little uncomfortable, always bring yourself into a child's pose and just wait until you feel comfortable, and then you can join the rest of the class. That's something that I think most people don't. They want to kind of push themselves. Don't hurt yourself. It's not what it's all about. We want to explore the body. But from here, I want you to inhale, get some length. And then I want you to exhale, walk a little bit further. Now we're going to talk a little bit about this inhale, exhale, lengthening sequence. So when you inhale, you might hear me say get length. And then whenever I say exhale, I want you to sink. Now essentially what that means is that every time whenever you inhale, you are actually stimulating your nervous system, right? You're stimulating your nervous system. I'm going to go ahead and you're teaching it to do something. And then when you exhale, you're actually, that slow exhale calms down the nervous system. When your body gets calm, what happens? You get into a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more mobility. So for us being yoga teachers and Pilates teachers and me being an exercise scientist, we want to be able to use that breath, right? So I want you to get yourself all the way up into this bent knee position, and then this time I want you to think about that inhale, lengthening, exhale, sinking a little bit deeper. Some of that sequencing. So I want you to inhale, get length. And then I want you to exhale, walk your hands all the way out to 12 o'clock. Now stay here. Inhale, reach up. And then exhale, walk your hands out, and see how you could just get, even though if it's a little centimeter, an inch, or whatever, you see how you do get a little bit more length out of the body. We're going to hold that position. Inhale, breathing in. Exhale, trying to relax into that stretch. Each Each inhale, you get length. Each exhale, you try to find your point of surrender and a little bit of, too much. And let's go ahead. Inhale, exhale, bring ourselves all the way back up to that tabletop position. And let's tuck our toes under and let's work into our downward facing dog. Now this is one of my favorites. So when we go into our bent knee downward facing dog, I want you to tuck your toes under. Inhale, exhale, push your butt all the way back. Now when you do your downward facing dog, it's important that, again, you're not pushing through the palm of your hand. I want you to grip it with the thumb, the pointer finger, and your pinky finger, and you're gripping your mat, right? And another thing is that I don't want you looking at your feet like this. You're sitting there, you're like, hey, how's it going, right? No, we don't want this. Why? Because you're actually you're crushing your neck. You're crushing your spine. Essentially what I want you to do is anytime you get yourself into a down dog, you stay in your all fours, right? You tuck your toes under, you push your hips back, and you either look into the middle of your hands or directly down. From here on out, you do not look at your toes unless I tell you to, right? But instead, just look straight down or right here at your feet and or right at your hands, and you'll be in a safe place. So inhale, I want you to sink your butt back, push your hips back, and then this time I want you to exhale, straighten the legs, and feel how that is torturous in a good way. So inhale, get length. Exhale, try to sink a little deeper. And then I want you to inhale, walk your hands all the way to your feet. And we're going to get set up in this standing forward bend. And so when we're here, even in this standing forward fold, this forward bend, that same inhale, exhale, lengthen approach applies here. Is that you inhale, you get length where you get a flat back. Maybe your hands are right here at the bottom of your knees. Maybe your hands are right here. But then you exhale, round, and you feel just a little bit more out of your posterior chain, out of your hamstrings. So I want you to inhale, find yourself a flat back. Feel your hamstrings turn on and engage. And then exhale, fold as you straighten your legs. Slowly inhale, bend your knees, come up to a flat back. And then exhale, fold all the way down. Now hold here for 2 deep breaths. Maybe you want to rock from side to side. I want you to inhale, slowly round up. The reason why we want to slowly round up is that we want to get our vertebrae to come up one step at a time. If you go all the way up, you end up jamming your vertebrae, and that can cause some back pain. We don't want that, right? That's the last thing we want. So always inhale, slowly peel yourself up one vertebrae at a time. Don't rush it. You ain't going anywhere. You're committed 40 minutes here with us. So that's a little bit about the lower stuff. That's a little bit about how I think I want you to kind of go forward with some of your yoga practices, and essentially whenever you do this on Sundays with me. But now I'm cracking and popping. I need to, holy hell. Is that now I want to get into some standing positions, right? So maybe you've heard me talk about Warrior 2. You've heard me talk about, your triangle, whatnot. But when you get yourself into your mat, right? You get yourself into your mat. Some of them have lines that go all the way through the yoga mat to kind of tell you where the midline of the mat is. And that's great. Sometimes you don't have that, and you have to figure out what's your midline. So what I want you to do is find yourself where your legs are wider than hip distance apart, and to the point where you feel the stretch in your inner thigh. And so once you find that stretch in your inner thigh, I want you to turn your right toes in about 15 degrees. Just a little turn in. And I want you to turn your left foot out about 90 degrees. Now, being in this position might feel a little weird, might feel a little awkward, or some of my yogis may know that this is kind of your quintessential standing position. But I want you to look down. Look down and see, is your heel in line with the arch of the back foot? If it's not, make sure it is, right? And that's where that line in the yoga mats kind of come in handy. So we want to be able to have that, and the reason why is because when we get into some of these poses, you'll see why that is very important. Is that's the very first thing I want you to think of whenever you're starting in your yoga practice. Because when we get into our warrior two, we have to utilize that lengthening, that breath sequence right here. So we're going to inhale, bring our arms all the way out to the side. I want you to get yourself with an exhale where you bend that knee just enough where it's over that ankle, right? Maybe you want to just find your leg placement. You can have your hands down here at your hip and just figuring this out, right? Finding this position. Maybe you want to spend some time finding what's good for you. But what I want you to think of when you're down here and looking at your warrior two position is when you're here, do you feel centered, right? Are you pushing? Are you too close with this leg and you're pushing like this, right? Because that's a no. Are you so far where you feel like you're doing a damn split, like, and it's like, Nick, I'm trying to bring my knee, but I can't. Well, you know, find what is going to be good for you, because this is something that we want to make a mental image of, right? So 15 degrees in the back foot, 90 degrees in the front foot. Bend that knee. Once you find your lower position, you're grounded. So I'd say for me, this is probably my position, right? The knee is stacked comfortably above my ankle, my foot, my arch. It's kind of in line. I can kind of feel a little bit here. But we ain't done. Because now I want you to push through that back pinky toe. When you push through that back pinky toe, it engages your whole vastus lateralis and your glute. And now we're getting somewhere. And then now I want you to push through that big toe. So you're pushing through the big toe, the pinky toe, everything's engaged. Now our hands are extended and we're in a warrior two. And you'll have to tell me when we're done here, does this feel a little bit different than maybe the warrior twos that you were used to doing? This is how we're going to do it from here on out. So from here, I want you to inhale, straighten your legs. And then I exhale, you sink deeper, right? And this is where that inhale, lengthen, exhale, like sinking deeper kind of comes into effect here, because we inhale, we exhale. Each time we do this, we get a little bit more length and a little bit more mobility out of our hips. And you can see when you're doing this, it's beneficial on the knee. Don't hyperextend, right? We don't want this. Always keep a slight knee bend. But you push forward and you're not stressing the knee joint by going, if your legs were in this position, right? If I kept doing this, ow, right? Like that hurts. But by having yourself in this position, you can go ahead and get yourself in a warrior two. So all of that stuff, we got to do it to the other side. So let's turn that left foot all the way out. So this goes in 15 degrees to the other side. The right foot goes out 90 degrees. And we're going to do that same thing to the other side, but now I just don't have to walk you all the way through it because you kind of have a better idea. So make sure heel, arch, pushing through the big pinky toe, pushing through the big toe. Bend your knee. Is it above the ankle? If so, then you can go ahead and extend your arms while pushing through and gripping into the mat. Feel this position, right? You feel your butt, if you're feeling your inner thighs, feeling your quads engage. We inhale, get length, slight knee bend, exhale, sink deeper. I'm doing this 2 more times. Inhale, get length. We exhale, sink deeper. Inhale up, exhale, hold this position now. Pushing through that back pinky toe for 3, 2, 1, and stretch yourself. Bring yourself all the way back. Oh my gosh. Your hips, get yourself a drink of water. And you're going to have to keep your questions for me till the end because nobody's here. I'm talking to my damn cat and the camera, right? We'll figure out how these workshops go. Virtual workshop, first time ever. I'm just hoping that it's working out for you, right? So, now that we've figured out a little bit about our yoga, we got to get down on the ground. We got to figure out a little bit about our Pilates. So, let's get ourselves all the way down onto the ground. Doesn't matter how you get there, we have to talk about Pilates. So basically everything that we just talked about, we have to erase it. No, I'm kidding. Kinda. But with Pilates, it's important that you inhale through the nose and you exhale out through the mouth. And the reason that we do this in Pilates is that when you exhale out through the mouth, and I'm just going to show you real quick, is that you contract your core. What do you mean, Nick? Well, I'm going to show you. So we're going to bend our knees. We're going to bring ourselves all the way back onto our back. Now, from this position, get yourself nice and settled. I want you to look over two things. Put your hand right here in your lower back. If it feels like a bridge, and you can just kind of easily bring your hand behind your lower back, we have some work to do, right? So we have to push this lower back flush against the mat. Now when you do this, it's actually gonna engage your core. That's the whole reason. So you're actually engaging your core by doing this. Now what you're also doing is you're actually stabilizing your lower back. Now if you're doing your core exercises, you're in this arched position, and it's going to be tough. Now that is honestly why a lot of times in Pilates you see me with my upper body, my shoulders up, because if you were laying down a lot of the times, it is really hard for you to push your lower back into the ground for a long period of time. So sometimes you have to bring yourself upright, and therefore it allows you to stay in that position we want. We'll get into it. So I want you to bring your hand and everything down, resting onto the ground. So you're going to have your left hand to your belly, your right hand to your chest. I want you to inhale through your nose. Nice deep breath. And I want you to exhale out through your mouth. But I want you to feel your core turn on with your left hand as you exhale. Maybe you have to chase it. Maybe you're not all the way down your lower belly. Keep it right there where your ribs are. So you inhale. And I want you to exhale out through the mouth. And just feel that core turn on. Let's do one more. Inhale through the nose. Exhale out through the mouth. The reason that this is going to be important is that when we're doing our Pilates, this is going to help you contract the core. It's going to give you more core strength, but it's actually going to stimulate a lot more of the muscles. So now that we kind of realized we need to figure out this flat back, I want you to make a diamond with your hand. So you make a diamond with your hand, and you bring the thumb goes right there, right where your belly button is. And essentially what I want you to do is I want you to inhale, exhale, try to bring the hips up and tilt it down. Up and down. And one thing, and what you'll find is that you're really just bringing the back to the ground, making the bridge. Ground, bridge. The triangle shows you, does it start to point down? Does it stay neutral? Because what we call this, as you may know, is called neutral spine, neutral pelvis. That is whenever your lower back is on flush with the ground. So once we find our neutral pelvis, or what seems neutral for you, I want you to bring your feet up into this tabletop position. And I want you to work on, we're going to figure out our threshold positions here in Pilates. So a lot of times, especially in Pilates, we do the double leg stretch, right? Where, we're inhale, extending, exhale, coming back to center. Sometimes a lot of my clients don't know, they're all the way down on the ground, like, yeah, this is hard, because they feel it in their lower back. We're going to find your threshold here, and we're going to walk through it. So bring yourself into this tabletop position, and I want you just to focus on the legs first. So I want you to extend your right leg, and I want you to lower it ever so slightly, but I want you to keep that lower back engaged, right? So keep that lower back into the mat, and I want you to lower it down to the point where A, your back starts to hurt, or you start to feel it in your lower back, and B, when it starts to arch all the way up, right? And you can try this with both feet. Okay, for me, it's about right there with my right leg. And then when I extend my left leg, it's about the same spot. Like, you want to feel the shake and bake, but you don't want to feel like you're straining out of your back. Once you find that for each leg single, I want you to try to find double. So bring your knees together, extend your legs, and find where is your lower point, right? It could be right here, and that's totally fine. It could be all the way down here, you know. I want you to find it because it's your threshold. Everybody's going to have a different threshold. But when we do, and the reason why this is so important, I want to talk about this now, is that when we do our different Pilates exercises, now you'll have a stop and start rather than just trying to just go all the way down, because you're seeing some videos of some people who've been doing Pilates for 25 years, right? So let's find out your threshold. But now that we know about the legs, the same rule applies to the upper body. So I want you to inhale, and you got to keep your legs in this 90 position. I want you to inhale back, find where your threshold arm's here. The way that you're going to find it is when your ribs start to really protrude out. So if you find that your core is engaged, and then it feels like your ribs are going to just start poking out of your shirt or out of your body, that's your end range. For me, it's about right here. So that means this is my start and stop for my arms, and this, oh my gosh, is my start and stop for my legs. And that is how we're going to start to find our threshold. So give yourself a little break, because you just tested a lot of stuff for yourself. Because now that you found your threshold, we got to do some movements in there, right? I mean, come on now. So get yourself deep breath. Inhale, exhale. Lower back is imprinted to the ground. And we're in this tabletop. Our hands are up. Maybe you lift your shoulders up because you're feeling like a badass. And I want you to inhale, stretch to your threshold positions, and then exhale back to center. If that feels comfortable, let's do 10. Inhale. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. If it feels hard on your neck, you can bring your hands down. Just make sure you're staring up to the sky. I want you to think, does this feel tougher? Does it feel more engaged? Does it feel better? Right? Maybe you actually were like, Nick, I didn't realize that I was doing these wrong the whole time. I was blowing my damn back out for the last 50 classes I've been doing these with you, and holy hell. See, these are the things that, especially whenever you're working onto a practice, you can find what is going to be beneficial for you. So let's do 2 more. Inhale, exhale, inhale, and exhale, and then bringing your hands and feet all the way down. Now you should feel this a little bit even though we're not going through a bunch of flows, you should be able to feel like, holy hell, this is actually, I'm feeling like I got a sweat going on, because I know I do. So now, we have a couple more things we're going to do. We're going to focus on our side sequence. So I want you to roll over to your left side. And on these side sequences, you have a couple different options as well. Now, I know I talked to you about having the line going through the yoga mat. So when you have the line going through the yoga mat, that's good for your yoga foot placement. Now with Pilates, I don't really like that much. And the reason being is because when you have your line like this, it's kind of unnatural in the spine. So I prefer to all my clients, and especially you now, is to have your feet at the corner of the mat. The reason we want to have the feet at the corner of the mat, because then we can extend this arm all the way out, bend it as if we're kind of watching TV. But from here, we can now get ourselves into extension out of the hip without the hip rolling all the way over, or doing one of these numbers, right? So I want you to think, when you are in these side positions, there's a rod that goes all the way down. I want you to think like this foam roller is going all the way down, and I have to, right? And this is how I had to teach myself, is I actually put something right behind me. Actually, it was a foam roller, and would allow myself to see how much extension I have out of my lower back before I start rounding all the way forward. And the same thing here, right? Is that I bring it forward and see where is my extension and where is my flexion. So some different things that you can consider, but I want you to think that this is pointing all the way up to the sky. So feet at the corner of the mat, I want you to bring that leg back, and I want you to find the extension in your spine. Extension out of the low back. Maybe you might feel a good stretch right here, and that you probably should. But from here, I want you to slowly exhale, bring it all the way forward. How far can you get? Is it all the way up? Is it all the way here? Right? Find your range of motion from your low back, from extension all the way to flexion. Now this right here, if you think about it, if we were standing up, would be basically like walking, right? Running, maybe not like this far march, but when your leg goes back like this is your walk. So finding this range, you might actually be like, damn, I'm feeling this in my butt. I'm feeling this in my side butt, Nick, what the hell? Let's do 3 more. 2, and 1, and then let's go ahead and switch to the other side. And you're going to find one thing about yoga and Pilates, being that it's a mindful exercise, right? It's mind-body connection. It's the whole game here. So we want to be able to find, is there any imbalances? Is there anything that's harder on one side? Is it easier on another? So feet at the corner of the mat. The rod's going through your hip. We're going to inhale, extend that left leg back. Find your threshold. Might feel good with a stretch. And then exhale. Slightly bring it all the way forward. Inhaling back. Exhale. Bringing it forward. Now again, this is one of those things where even though you can sit up tall like this, however, whatever feels beneficial for you. But when we're in these side positions, I know we have the tendency to see what the hell's going on with that lower leg. But if you just look at our head, right? Look at our spine. We're candy cane. That's what I call it, the candy cane. So when you're doing these, I know it's a workshop now, but when we get ourselves into actual exercise, you are looking forward when you are doing this. Right? This is going to be more beneficial for you than this, right? You just candy cane to your neck, breaking it. So let's do 3 more. Inhale back. Exhale forward. Try to keep it nice and still. You shouldn't be doing, that whole movement. Inhale. Exhale. 1 more. Inhale. And exhale. Oh, a nice knee crack for me to finish it all off. So let's bring ourselves into a cross-legged pose. And I want you to go ahead and then now bring your feet together into the butterfly pose. And I want you to go ahead and just butterfly away. So keeping yourself nice and tall and nice and upright. I want you to breathe into your hips. Breathe into your core. Maybe you're feeling your core. Maybe you're feeling your back a little bit differently. Maybe you lit up some different muscles that maybe you had no idea even existed from doing some of these, from doing the workshop stuff. But I'm curious. Bring your legs together into a cross-legged pose. Let's inhale. Bring your hands all the way up. And what do we learn in the very beginning? Keeping that length in the very top of your spine. I want you to exhale, bring your hands all the way down. Does that feel different? Does it feel easier? Let's try it again. Inhale. And then exhale. Keep yourself nice and tall. Switch the legs. Inhale, reach. Keep that length. Exhale down. Do one more. Inhale up. We're going to hold, reach, and then exhale. Hands come all the way down. Relax your shoulders. Roll your shoulders back. Lift your chest up. Take a deep inhale. And just think now, you got some knowledge for your yoga and Pilates class, so that now whenever you join us, you don't feel less like a novice, like a beginner. Now you kind of understand what's going on. They would have charged you hundreds of dollars for this class, but since you're part of the community and you follow me and you interact, and this is why we do this, right? So give yourself, bring your hands into a prayer position, bow your head, namaste. So namaste, everyone. Thank you for showing up for our workshop. I don't even know. Well, we went a little over. I was kind of right on time. Let me know if you got any value out of that. Drop me a heart, save, like, whatever the hell. We're on all these different platforms. But we're probably muted on YouTube because that's just how it always happens. It's like we do all this stuff and then I find out that the video's muted. So if you have any questions, holler at me. I'm going to spin it around and we can talk here for a little bit. So thanks everybody for tuning in. How did we do? How did we do? Okay. Well, somebody was texting me too. Who the hell was texting me? Not in the middle of the damn workshop. Why they texted me? Tiffany, that was great. Definitely learned a couple things. Oh, I love that. You know me, I can get the talking. I love the teaching, right? It's the whole reason we're here is to teach, right? I want to teach you guys on how you can actually live a healthier life and actually how to do yoga and Pilates. Why? Because it changed my life, right? Like it literally changed my life. If I didn't start doing yoga and Pilates or practicing yoga and Pilates, I would have never went back to school for an exercise physiologist. Sherry, everything hurts? Shit. I know, right? My core is like engaged. Like I feel like I got to do these more often, right? Sometimes you never, like when we go back to the basics, right? People always say, sometimes it doesn't matter how long you've been doing anything, and if you're an expert in your field, sometimes just learning and going back to your basics is everything. Do you save your lives for replay? Just came in, missed the entire class. Actually, you know what? I'll save it for you, Rachel. I usually don't, but I'll save it for you. I'll put it on the public, the Instagram. I think I've been around the world, but you're the best teacher. We love you all. Thanks for You know what, Lumineer? I appreciate you. You've been around the world too, huh? I appreciate that. But as long as, you guys got to show up, right? I always say, if you can give you guys an opportunity, and you just show up, right? That's half the battle. Give you guys an opportunity to learn some things, learn some stuff about yoga, learn some stuff about yourself, and you'd be surprised, right? And I find that a lot of times with yoga and with Pilates are some of the things, it allowed me to get out of back pain, right? Now, don't get me wrong, I still got my occasional back pain, but whenever I was hurting, this is the stuff that really helped, right? And the best part is this isn't the stuff that they're going to teach. Well, actually, I lie. Because when you go to PT, they give you yoga and Pilates exercises. They just call it something different, right? Like, it's like they get the cat-cow, right? It's like, oh, you're cat-cow, but they call it something completely different, right? And so you realize that a lot of the exercises that they're giving you are stuff that you could be doing at your house. A lot of the stuff that they're doing is stuff that you could be doing. I call it prehab, we call it rehab, but I call it just living, right? That's the whole thing. It's just learning how to move better, live a little bit better. Very helpful. I learned a lot on your class. Oh, I appreciate that. I really do. And I got some people who want me to teach classes around the city of Pittsburgh. I'm like, I don't want to teach classes. The only people I want to teach for are my people in my community. I don't give a shit about the rest of them. I only care about the people that are here, right, in the community. So you guys are the ones I care about, even though, yes, they might be paying me for it, but I don't care, right? It's impact over income. That was what we put on the vision board. That's the whole thing. That's my whole mindset. That's what we're doing, even though I still need to pay my damn bills, but that will come, right? Impact over income. What, feeling stiff before I started? Honestly, I was feeling really stiff. I did my morning routine, and my lower back, my SI joint, I might actually have to get a second opinion on this because I'm doing all the stuff that I know I should do, but it's like, maybe this is out of my control. Maybe this is something a little bit, let me get a second opinion, right? And there's nothing, and I always find that there's nothing wrong with that, right? As a professional, like, yes, you might see the videos here, this is how you can get out of hip pain, back pain, and all this other stuff, but I'll be the first one to tell you, like, I'll try it out myself, and if my approaches don't work, I'll get a second opinion, or maybe have to go see another professional, right? Because they might be seeing something that's different, and I encourage that, the SI joint, right? Well, it all started whenever I was doing, it was my fault, right? I was doing hip thrust, and then I got trapped under the damn bar. I'm embarrassed to say it, but here I was over here, I'm doing my damn hip thrust, I got the bar here, I'm hip thrusting, but then I realized that I can't get out. I was like stuck. I'm like sitting here like, ah. So I had to like, actually that's exactly what it was. I did this number and it just took it all the way out. So don't hip thrust with nobody around, right? Don't hip thrust with nobody around. I don't recommend it, right? It just, I was like, all right, so there's limits to these things, right? There's home workouts and then there's limits to the home workouts, right? We can't do it all, but we try to do it anyways. We just don't want to hurt ourselves in the meantime. But that's what happens, right? We're in our 30s. I mean, my fucking hair is starting to get a lot grayer, so it's like, what are you going to do? But just in case anybody wants to know, we do this every Sunday. If this is your first time, maybe you just started getting into the community, we do this every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Now, it's Super Bowl Sunday. I'll leave it up to you guys. Do we want to do a yoga class at 7? Do we want to do our yoga class at 7? I know it's Super Bowl. People are probably out and about. I don't give a shit, right? They're not my teams. I guess I am wearing green. Damn it. I guess I am wearing green. Aren't I? Shit. All right. Well, I guess that's who I'm rooting for. I didn't even think about that. Damn. All right. So we'll do it. All right. Yeah, we'll do it. All right. So, yeah, what do I care? It's not my team. It's not the Steelers anyways, right? We'll be there next year. That's fine. So, that's what we do. We do this every Sunday, and we do have a challenge. For myself is that I am going live. Which sports ball team is green? The Eagles. The Eagles, they're green. Yeah. So, and it's PA. It's the other. Fuck, I hate Philly. I'm from Pittsburgh, so it's like, Philly. What are you gonna do? Actually, I can care less. But what we do for myself is that I have a challenge going on for myself, is that we're going to be going live how do I find the class? It'll be right here on Instagram, right here on the live. Just make sure you stay tuned, Deeds, to my story. I'll put a little thing on it, and so it can send you a reminder. Let me know if anybody ever does that, because the reason I always share the live stream in my stories is so that you can click it for a reminder. Now, if it doesn't work, then maybe I've been doing it wrong. So let me know if that actually works, so you know. But that's where you can find the D, where you put it in there as a reminder, and it will send you a little notification and say, all right, D, time to get your ass to yoga. I think 15 minutes. It works? Okay, Sherry, perfect. I always hope it does, because it always gives me the update of like, you'll be there, like, start your yoga class in 15 minutes, and I'm wondering, does it send that to everybody? Reminder works? Love it. So, okay, I'll keep doing it. Just got to stay tuned to the stories. I'm so bad at this stuff, right? We got the broadcast channel, we got the Facebook channel, and so I always forget to put it out into the mass. I don't know. We'll get it. We'll get it together here eventually. One of these days, you think I'd figure it out, but all right. So we'll do this again, 7 p.m. Right? So I'll see you here live, 7 p.m. We're gonna do our 25-minute yoga class, and it's gonna be more back to like flow. So I want you to think the stuff that we learned today about the stretch, the lengthening, the breathing, the sequencing. I want you to use that today or tonight at 7 p.m. when we do our PM yoga class. So I'll be testing you, even though I can't see you. One of these days, you know what? We're gonna have to do like a little get together. We'll have to do like a retreat, so we can kind of. I get people saying it all the time. Nick, we got to come over here to El Salvador and bring all your clients to El Salvador. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe not El Salvador, right? Maybe somewhere else, right? I'm not trying to get lost in El Salvador. It might be a great place, but I'll tell you what, I am not. No, can we stay in the U.S., please? Maybe. So we'll stay tuned for some of that stuff. Do it, Sherry. Remember that was part of the vision board is retreats. So we're gonna be doing a retreat one of these days. We'll figure it out, right? There's so much shit going on, but just stay tuned to 7 p.m. California here is weird and beautiful. I like California. I haven't been there in a long time. I like going to Arizona. If anything, I'd say Sedona has something in Sedona. That would probably be my place. It's the first thing that I think of, because if you've never been there, it's amazing. They have like just Sedona. That probably would be the place to do it. Would be Sedona, huh? We'll think about it. We'll let you guys decide. When we get to that bridge, you guys will decide where the hell we're going. I won't be, because this will be for you guys anyway. So, with that being said,